So, like all research, insatiable curiosity. We originally set out to understand just one criminal business model, traffic direction systems, and that then expanded to understanding the wider Russian underground. From there, we explored all major regional undergrounds, Spanish, Latin American, English, and a whole bunch of others. And it had a good understanding of them, we then pivoted into looking at specific criminal business models and criminal infrastructure. So today, the drivers are very much the same. We keep adding to this body of work and filling in those gaps in knowledge to create a resource that defenders and researchers alike can use to strategically understand and protect themselves against modern cybercrime. When you look over 15 years, criminal business models really change. Taking just an example of an early paper and one of the most recent ones. We had a paper on Russian underground back in 2012, and many of the services we talked about then still exist today. VPNs, proxies, DDoS and more. But others are no longer so important. Things like banking trojans, things like rootkits or browser exploits. Just recently, we released a new version called a Russian-speaking underground. And today, of course, ransomware dominates, which actually did exist back in 2012, but was much more primitive than today. But our understanding of criminal business models is much deeper now, leading to a very deep strategic paper we released with a nice long appendix of just about every service you can think of that is offered on these undergrounds. Even the fact we call it the Russian-speaking underground gives you an idea if we have a better understanding of the wider reach of these regional criminal undergrounds. And all that knowledge helps us to actually get one step ahead of the criminals when it comes to protection and solutions. At any point in our series, if we take a snapshot of a 1-year period, things don't necessarily change that much. And there's 3 core reasons for that, which internally we call the 3 rules of thumb of being a cybercriminal. Number 1 is criminals want an easy life. That is the entire point of being a criminal. Otherwise, you'd have a normal job in a normal industry. Reason number 2 is that for criminals to adopt a new type of attack, the return of investment has to be significantly better than anything else already out there. Otherwise, what's the point? And third, criminal changes are an evolution, not a revolution. In almost every case, they're short-term focused. Only a few of the very biggest groups ever get to the stage of having R&D that's kind of sunk costs now in the hope of some returns later. So tactically, of course, attacks change, but at an operational or strategic level, criminal business models are slower to alter than people think. But reach then these nexus points where they're almost forced to change because of outside factors. And we're on the verge of one of them right now, especially brought about because of the emergence of agentic AI, where we think strongly that we are going to move from an era of cybercrime as a service to cybercrime as a servant. And you have already seen some researchers coming from Trend Micro in this space. Watch our website, you'll see a lot more coming over the coming year. Absolutely. It aligns perfectly with Trend Micro's vision to make the world safe for the exchange of digital information. And the ability to defend always begins with the knowledge on how to do so. So if new criminal business models are emerging, we'll do deep dives on those. If the criminal infrastructure is changing, we'll cover that too. And of course, we constantly have an eye on the criminal regional undergrounds, looking to see has enough changes happened that it merits an update to our existing paper in that area. So it always starts with the knowledge, and then from that knowledge we have the tools we need to collectively protect ourselves better. There's so many interesting insights in these 50 publications, but for me it's about the collective knowledge built up here. There's thousands of pages on how cybercriminals think and work. And I also love the long-lasting publications, the ones that are still relevant years after we actually published them, because that's a real sign that we managed to get deep enough to understand strategically what was going on. I think our most recent 3 papers on the English-speaking, Spanish-speaking and Russian-speaking underground are a great point for anybody who wants to dive in and start looking at this. And then if you want to expand your knowledge, go have a look at our papers from 2020 that focus on the criminal infrastructure, which are still very relevant today. But most of all, on a personal note, it's the fantastic people we've got to work with together over 14 years on building this series out, many of whom are still in Trend Micro, some of whom's careers have taken them other directions. So I guess the real treasure is the friends we made along the way.